I'm Dr. Margaret Contra-Sutton of Sutton Dermatology and Aesthetics. Did you know that skin cancer is the most prevalent of all cancers and that over 1 million Americans will develop skin cancer every year? Develop a regular routine to inspect your body for any skin changes. If any growth, mole, sore, or skin discoloration appears suddenly or changes, please call Sutton Dermatology and Aesthetics to schedule a skin check.
This is Inspired Interviews, and I am Katie Kinsella-Boles, your host. This podcast is sponsored by Sutton Dermatology and Aesthetics. Today we have Staci Hass with us. Staci is a lifelong Nebraskan who grew up on a family farm. She graduated from Doane University with a BA in Business Administration, later returning to earn her Master's of Arts in Management. Staci has over 20 years of leadership experience in technology and product in financial services. She's passionate about volunteering and giving back to her community. Staci is a lifelong learner and enjoys reading, working on her golf game, and learning to play the guitar. Staci lives in Lincoln and has 2 rescue dogs, Laser and Presley. Staci, thank you for being here.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, okay, so from your bio, the most important thing I have to ask, what is the first song you want to master on the guitar?
I know. So I have, when I went in for my lessons, and I've stopped lessons for a while, I had to take a little break, but he's like, here's your list of like all your 20 songs that you want to learn. So I started to pick songs, but I started with Wildflowers by Tom Petty, which I love. But then there were 2 chords that were really hard. So then my second backup was Country Roads by John Denver.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. That's so cool. I always think, like, if I learned to play the guitar, what would be the song? And I want to be able to play just the beginning of Night Moves.
Oh,
just the beginning, like the
You're a Bob Seger fan?
Not really. I'm
Not
more
really.
of a Tom Petty fan. Huge Tom Petty fan.
Yeah.
So you have me at Tom Petty.
Yes, and there's lots. He has lots of songs, and typically a lot of them, 3-4 chords. So you don't have to,
It's
you
true.
shouldn't have to be a master, but
it's true. But
you can strum it out.
Right. I love it. Another thing I know about you is you were, and you say, fortunate enough to play sports in college.
Yes, very much.
And I did not grow up with sports. I didn't play them. My brother did not. And so for me as a mother and an auntie, I'm always thinking about how do sports, what do they do for young women and girls that I missed out on? Like, in terms of leadership, team building. So I'd love to hear about your experience and what you think how it taught you.
Yeah, so I started, I think playing softball was my first sport when I was, as soon as we could play, I think we were 9 when we could start playing. So, there's so many benefits to girls in sports, and I like to think of it in terms of just, general health and well-being, and then there's leadership, and then there's really life lessons. And there's lots of studies that show that girls who participate in sports have better overall health, better self-image, and it really helps with confidence and self-esteem. I also think in terms of, leadership and how to learn, those life skills. And, especially if you're part of a team, right? You have to learn to be part of a team. You have to participate with that team. You have to compromise. You have to, figure out how to work together. You have to figure out how to set goals as a team. There's also a lot to be said about overcoming adversity. So you have to overcome adversity in athletics. You might get hurt. Your teammate might get hurt. You might get a bad call. You might, there's all those things that happen. And then, to me, the most important is you learn how to deal with failure. There's lots of situations that don't go well. There's wins, but then there's losses, and so being able to overcome failure and learn from it, I think, is a really important part of participating in sports.
Wow. I mean, that's really things that you learn throughout your life, but that's one experience that can teach you all those things.
Yes.
I mean, I never thought about, I never really dove into that.
Yeah, and it's funny, I was at, I graduated from Doane, and I was at their basketball game a few weeks ago, and they have a very young team. And as I was watching, it's like, oh yeah, there's some things going on here that a young team does, and they lost the game. And they played great, but they just lost, and they did some things that didn't probably serve them well as they were trying to win. But I was talking to the coach afterwards, and we were just talking about how they probably learned more from that loss than they would have if they would have won the game. And so it's just important I think it's important to learn to figure out how to learn from things that don't go your way. And one of my favorite interview questions is to ask people to tell me about a time they failed and what they did with that. And so I think all those things tie together. And it's just, you can learn how to deal with it in a lot of ways, but certainly team sports or really any sort of sports will help you with that.
Yeah. I have a 10-year-old son who is learning how to lose. You know what I mean? And it is interesting because it's not something where you can just tell them, okay, you're not going to win all the time. And and all the things you say to them, but really through experiencing it with a team. Yeah. I think would be
how do you come together, and how do you talk about and deal with those feelings, and hey, what did we learn, and what are we going to do differently next time? So those are all great conversations.
I would nanny for a couple kids when their parents would go out of town, and one of them was really into swimming. And I would take him, it was a private pool and coach in town, and I would take him to his lessons, and we would leave. And this kid was maybe 16. And I'm like, there was so much, critiquing. And I'm more sensitive. And I was like, were you okay? Like there was so much correction, whatever. He's like, that's how I get better. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, he's learned that at a young age. And a lot of people can't take constructive criticism. And perhaps if that kind of thing starts at a young age and understanding you can better yourself.
Yeah, good. Yeah, the ability to take feedback, self-awareness. I feel like that is a great lesson in self-awareness for me. What are the things that I'm good at? What are the things I'm not? Let somebody else on the team do the things that I'm not good at, and have the self-awareness to be okay with that.
Right. I love it. Okay, well, thank you, because I've talked to other moms too. I'm like, did you play sports? I'm like, no. I'm like, do you ever just wonder, because you meet women who are in it, and they have a certain vibe to them. There is a leadership vibe.
There's a leadership vibe, yeah. I think so. I think that, I think there's, like I said, there's a lot of benefits. Also, I've made some really great lifelong friendships from sports as well. So there's, it was, like I said, I feel very fortunate every day that I was able to do that, so.
Well, on to kind of your favorite interview question. So you said, what did you do from failing, or what did you learn from a failure? Yeah. Maybe is there a time or a struggle that you remember that was hard for you, and how did you overcome it? How did you get through it and overcome? Yeah,
I was thinking back to, and this has been several years ago, but it's interesting because it was kind of a personal and professional time for me that was really hard. And so it was when I was working on my master's degree, and so really busy with that. So trying to be a full-time employee plus a student, and was just getting into the final project that I had to do to finish my master's degree. And about that time had started a special project at work, and was doing that in addition to leading my team. So I still had a team who was doing their normal work. I was doing the special project, and then my boss came to me one day. He's like, "We're going to do this whole new way to manage our portfolio, so you have to work on that." I'm like, I can't. Let me delegate it. And he's like, "No." And so I just had so much on my plate. I was so stressed trying to get everything done and do everything well. I ended up getting, I got shingles, it was terrible. And you just start failing at everything, you feel like, right? So it's like, okay, I'm not getting done with my master's degree. I'm not getting things done at work. And so I was just really feeling like nothing was going well. And unfortunately, when you lead people, sometimes, and especially for me, and this is something I know about myself, when things start to go poorly, then I start to, you start to project that on the people around you, which is not okay either. And so then just really starting to feel bad about how things were going. So in that particular instance, I asked for help. You just get to these times where you have to ask for help. And I had actually, and I credit my advisor when I was getting my master's degree, and Dr. Dana Miller, but I went into her and I'm like, I can't keep doing this. I got to put this on hold. I got to take a year off. And she's like sat down. She's like, you're so close. Let's just figure out how to work through it, and I can give you a little bit more time, but don't stop. She wouldn't let me. I wanted to quit, and she wouldn't let me. So bless her for that, because I don't sometimes it's hard to go back. And then I just really worked with my manager and my team. It's like, what can I delegate? What can somebody else pick up? What can we stop doing? And really had to refocus on my values, right? What are the things that are important to me, and what's important to my team, and what do I need to do to support them? So I had to really just take a step back and reflect and figure out how to prioritize the things that were most important. Sometimes you get so overwhelmed, everything's important, nothing's going well. So refocus on those things that are the most important and are going to provide the best benefit, be the biggest needle mover, and work through those first. And sometimes you just have to let the other things go.
I'd like to take a moment and thank our sponsors, Sutton Dermatology and Aesthetics. Yeah, hearing that experience, I'm like, oh my gosh. I've worked for people who have been trying to get their master's and working full time and managing people. And I watch that, and I can feel it's like things pile on top of each other, and then all of a sudden, what do we need to do?
Yeah.
And so you leaned on your advisor that time?
I did, yeah. She was great, and just really helped me think about how to prioritize the work I needed to do for her, and help me just with overall priority around, if you're this busy, let's figure out how can we carve out a little bit more time, but keep you moving so you don't quit and never come back when you're this close. So yeah, it was good advice.
Right. You have
very good advice.
We're always lucky to have those people.
Yes. Yeah.
Are there certain people that you go to for advice or guidance?
Yeah, I'm really lucky, and I have a couple of really close friends that I will bounce things off of all the time. So, and they're very good about really being empathetic and helping me, but also really, you need people who are brutally honest when you're asking for advice too. So they're honest about what they're seeing and what they're doing. So I'm very lucky. I have some really close friends that I lean on for most of my advice. Some family too, but yeah, I have a couple of friends that I've known for a long time.
Yeah, that's
kind of my go-to.
Lucky to have.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah.
I was thinking about how maybe I have an algorithm, because there's certainly different people I call for different things, and I'm like, does it have to do with this? And then I'm like, maybe I don't know.
Yes.
I do lean on my dad a bit too. When my dad says, I just don't know, then I'm like, oh my gosh, we're in trouble.
Uh-oh.
Or how do you make a difficult decision? How do you go about that?
I am definitely a head thinker and not a heart thinker. So I do that personally. I do it professionally. Everything for me is about, give me the information, give me the data, give me, very analytical in my process, and I just try to sit down and sometimes it's a pros and cons list, and sometimes it's let's look at it financially, what the impacts are. So really try to find that data, which is kind of a boring way to make a decision, and I'll listen to my gut once in a while, but I will rarely make just a total gut decision. Just not comfortable with that. So I usually have to have some facts to back it up.
Maybe that's almost a better way to make a decision because there's probably less laboring over it because the answers are more black and white.
Yeah, I do tend to make, once I have the information, a fast decision, and I typically will not belabor it. So one of my friends who I kind of lean on at times, she's very methodical, and it takes her a long time to make a decision. So it's kind of nice to like bounce things off of people like that because it's the total opposite of me. So you get that different perspective. So it's nice to have a different perspective once in a while.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I always say I have a friend named Tammy, and a lot of us look to her for things. We'll say keep calm and call Tammy.
Yeah.
Because I don't know, she just has this like zen okay, listen, da 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 da, and then you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
That wasn't really that hard.
Yeah, if you really start to unpeel it, it's really not as bad as it seems.
Right.
Which is most problems.
For sure.
Yes.
What guidance do you find yourself offering?
I always encourage people to be curious and keep asking the whys. I think the other thing that my new favorite thing to say is that if you don't ask, the answer is always no. Right, so and it's really about asking the questions and asking the what ifs and how do you kind of explore some of that curiosity. I used to tell people all the time when they did want to do things they wanted to do that it would build character, which was it kind of seems like a glib answer, but it was really, honestly, it's really about the fact that you're not always going to be set up to do the things you want to do, and you're not always going to be set up to do the easy things. The hard things make you stronger. They make you more perseverant. They make you, they'll build this, they'll build, different characteristics than doing the easy things will do. So I haven't said that for a while. I might have to bring that one back.
Bring it back, yeah.
Yeah, but I should probably provide more context because,
it'll build character. I like it. Yeah. I mean, truly, like the hardest things, for me, like the hardest things that I've done, I suppose I've learned the most about myself. Yeah. Like, is there a time when you learned the most about yourself that you can think back where you're like, okay, that was a turning point?
Yeah. There's a specific and then there's some general. And the specific one was when I was finishing my master's degree. And mainly because at that time, the program I was in, you did this kind of end project, and it was really about who am I as a leader, what do I want to be as a leader, what did I learn in this program that I can apply going forward. But you had to start at the beginning and really talk about your life and how you got to this point. And it's like some of the things that I just really didn't ever think about that impacted me growing up, kind of came to the surface. And so really had to sit down and think about like what are my values? What do I want to be, and how do I want to move forward out of this program, and what do I want to take with me? So definitely learned a lot about myself during that process. And I think the other times when I really learn the most is if I'm, like when something's ending, right? You're ending a relationship, or you're moving on from a job or something like that. And I just think it's because you have to get out of your comfort zone. And I think when you get out of your comfort zone and have to do something new, you have to, you're moving on into some new area where you might not know everything. It's going to be uncomfortable. I think that you learn a lot about yourself, about how you handle those situations. And I always go back to, what are my values? What are the things that are most important to me? And am I aligning with that as I make this change? And is that why I'm making the change? Because I think it's important to stay true to those things.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that would also help, like, when you're making a decision, too, you're probably, I've seen that you mention values a bit. Mm-hmm. I know that you really, integrity, and I can tell that you have a lot of empathy. Or you like to.
I had to work on that.
Okay.
Yeah, I would say, it's funny because Staci 20 years ago probably, didn't have a lot of empathy, and I took a emotional intelligence test, and I was like, oh my gosh, I really want to, and I probably have more empathy in certain situations than in other situations, and there's still times I struggle with it, but yes, I really have worked very hard to think more in terms of being empathetic and how do you do that and how do you build that muscle going forward, because I would say that has not always come naturally for me. So it's something I had to learn and something that I still continue to work on, because sometimes the old me shows up. Yeah.
I mean, I get
For
it.
sure.
There's certain, I am, my brother and I both call ourselves over empaths. It's like it's a curse. I am fully aware that it is definitely like, less comfortable asking the questions where you think you'll get a no. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That how you, or I don't want to hurt someone's feelings, or I don't want, this is hard, this is difficult, because I'm always thinking about other people's feelings. However, there are other times when I'm not, but as much, but I think it is an interesting concept.
But you can be empathetic and still be honest.
Yes.
And I think that's
yeah.
hard. And I think it's hard sometimes for people to think in those terms. It's like, well, if I give you this feedback and maybe it's not as, it's going to be hard to take, then you're not being empathetic. And that's not true. You just have to deliver it in a way that is empathetic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As a coworker said, it's a disservice to not be honest, like with the feedback and that sort of thing too. Yeah, for sure.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, Staci, these are the questions that I would just love to ask anyone and don't have an excuse to.
Okay.
So I'm going to. You did. How many smiley faces are appropriate for an email?
It depends who you're sending the email to, but I have a really good friend that she's always doing all the different, and I'm like, it would take me an hour to come up with all those different emojis. So I'm probably a one smiley face
One
person.
smiley face? Yeah. I have to go through emails and delete at least 4. Rolling Stones or Beatles?
Ooh, Rolling Stones all the way.
Yes. Movie theater or movie on the couch?
Movie on the couch.
All right. Okay. Indulgent beverage. By this I mean, if there's something like you could get during the day that like would make your day so amazing, if you just have it every day.
Can't I say champagne?
Yeah, you can have that all day. You can. Indulgent beverage, champagne.
Okay.
Perfect. I love it. Is Comic Sans font appropriate and acceptable?
Oh, yeah.
I
think it is. Yeah.
In every.
No, I wouldn't. No. But it's kind of fun. Yeah. Why not?
Why not?
Be whimsical. Be out there. Be your. If that's being true to who you are, use Comic Sans.
Oh, okay.
That's what I say.
I love it. Okay. Lake, ocean, or pool?
If I have a boat, the lake. But otherwise, I'm a pool girl.
Okay. Last show you binge watched that you're comfortable telling everyone.
Oh.
You're not embarrassed about.
That I'm not embarrassed about.
Sometimes I'm like, I will tell no one I watch this for 20 hours.
What did I just binge? Let's see. I just binge watched the last season of The Crown.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm obsessed with the royals.
Okay. Do I need to lean in?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
The Crown. Mm-hmm. What would you tell the 20-year-old you?
Oh, I would tell her to be able to forgive herself more and to focus more on the present and less on the past. That's good. Yes.
That's good. Should we tell all 20-year-olds
We
that?
should
Probably.
tell all, everybody
cards.
should live by that.
Yeah.
Everyone.
We really should.
Yeah.
Okay. You told me a phrase you used to use a lot. What was it? It builds character.
It builds
What's
character.
your overused word and why is it your favorite? Or phrase?
My overused phrase. Oh my gosh. You know what I say all the time? It's a team sport.
It's a team sport.
Yes.
Good.
Yes, I probably overuse that too. Yeah, when we're talking about at work trying to get something, and I'm like, you guys know this is a team sport, right? So yeah, I do use that a lot.
Yeah, there's someone in the newsroom who said that to me like about an hour ago, actually.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah, I'll have to figure out who it is.
That's
That is
good
a good
advice.
one. It is a good one. Okay, what's a word or phrase that we need to get rid of?
I need to get rid of kinda. Like I say kinda
kinda?
all the time. Yeah, that's my problem. Like when I'm doing a presentation or something, kinda. And it's kinda isn't even a word. It needs to be gone. It needs to be gone from my vocabulary.
Yeah. I want to get rid of cool beans, like completely. I want it
do people
off.
still say that?
I hear people say it and I get a little like, I don't know why. I'm like, what does that mean?
What does that
Like, can you just say cool?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because there's nothing cool about beans.
No. Why are we
Maybe
saying
it's
it?
an oxymoron, so we say it that way.
Yeah, who started it? Okay, well, thank you, Staci, for taking the time to be here today. and answering the questions for us. It was great to have you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
This was fun.
Good. I think
Yeah.
so too. Thanks so much.
Yeah. Have a great day.
You too. Today's Inspire podcast is sponsored by 3 incredible women and board-certified dermatologists, Dr. Margaret Contras Sutton, Dr. Lee Sutton, and Dr. Liz Sutton of Sutton Dermatology and Aesthetics. Sutton Dermatology and Aesthetics physicians and providers are expert leaders in the fields of dermatology, skin cancer surgery, and medical aesthetics. Call 402-484-9009 or visit suttonderm.com to schedule an appointment with Sutton Dermatology and Aesthetics today.